Hi everyone, welcome to today's nutrition video, which is all about nutritional requirements for bone health. I have spoken on this topic in the past, or have answered a lot of your questions, specifically around osteopenia and osteoporosis. So today is going to be a deeper dive into the nutrients that are required to optimize bone health. Now, anyone who has had a DEXA scan will know that one of the measurements that they look at in the scan is your bone mineral density. So this is very important because it graphs that result in terms of where you lie for your age bracket and the population. So therefore, you can really have a better understanding where you are placed at risk of developing osteopenia or osteoporosis. Now, bone health is absolutely vital to maintain and optimize to reduce the risk of fractures and breaks, especially as we get older. There are many causes that will reduce bone density or a reduction in bone density, and these include things like aging. Just natural aging reduces bone strength because more bone is broken down than what can be made. Alcohol, mainly excessive and frequent consumption, causes the leaching of specific nutrients out of the bone matrix, but also causes a reduction in nutrient absorption as well, though especially those nutrients that are important for building bone. Smoking acts on the same premise in terms of leaching of nutrients. Nutrient deficiencies, well, that's a no-brainer, specifically those of calcium, vitamin D, vitamin K, and also phosphorus. So therefore, we really need to make sure that there are nutritional or dietary interventions in place to make sure that we're meeting those specific nutrient requirements. An interesting one is corticosteroid therapy. Now, there may be many of you out there that have used some form of oral corticosteroids at one point in time, whether it's to treat a specific health condition, alternatively as an anti-inflammatory agent. So a steroid replacement hormone, including prednisolone, cortisone, and hydrocortisone, any form of long-term use, which means more than 2 months of oral corticosteroid type medications with doses of more than 5 to 7.5 milligrams of prednisolone per day can definitely increase the risk of developing osteoporosis by reducing bone formation and bone density. So if there are people out there who have asthma who might be taking some form of steroid, there might be autoimmune conditions, there might be also anti-inflammatory agents where someone's had injuries where they've had to use this, or there might be chronic inflammatory conditions as well, particularly inflammatory bowel disease such as Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, where some of these medications might have been used, and also any autoimmune conditions as well, such as rheumatoid arthritis. So people who have these conditions might be using these medications frequently, but keep in mind it is also placing them at risk of lowered or decreased bone mineral density. Other factors contributing to lowered bone mineral density include eating disorders, excessive exercise, because that causes micro damage to the bone matrix, particularly if there are no recovery parameters in place or sufficient recovery parameters. A family history of osteoporosis or osteopenia, specific hormones, particularly estrogen. So ladies, when you go through menopause, perimenopause, or postmenopause, that reduction or drop in estrogen is responsible for lowered bone mineral density and also bone strength. Hyperthyroidism, so overactive thyroid, and hypopituitarism, so meaning pituitary gland failure. Certain medical conditions such as celiac disease, chronic liver or kidney disease also plays a role, rheumatoid arthritis, and also physical inactivity. Therefore, people who are really sedentary, who put on more fat than muscle, they're going to have a lot of troubles around strengthening their bones as well. So they're the main causes, but what I want to focus on in this video today are the specific nutrients that are going to help us improve bone mineral density. And these are basically like a bit of a checklist to make sure that you are consuming these nutrients in your diet, because we want to try to optimize bone health through nutritional means rather than supplemental means. But as you know, my stance on that is that nutrition comes first. However, there might be specific situations where requirements are higher. Alternatively, people just struggle to meet their demands and requirements. So therefore, supplementation is required. Also, if there's any deficiencies or risk of deficiencies, supplementation plays a really pivotal role there as well. So, in terms of nutrients, we need to be looking at things like amino acids, specifically aspartic acid, glutamine, glycine, proline, and also lysine. To break that down, aspartic acid and glutamine are required for bone calcification, whereas glycine and proline are constituents of collagen. So we all know that collagen is very, very important for hair, nails, bone, so therefore really important. And lysine is also a constituent of collagen, and also elastin, which promotes collagen protein synthesis and also bone growth. Boron. It's not a very well known because it is a trace mineral, but boron is really important in the development and maintenance of healthy bones, and it's required for the absorption of calcium and also the activation of vitamin D, which are two of the major and most important nutrients when it comes to bone health. Broad spectrum probiotics, surprisingly, and this is predominantly to support the gut microbiota and the production and absorption of vitamin K and B group vitamins. Calcium. Well, we know, and probably from your research and personal research, that everyone knows that calcium is the most important nutrient when it comes to bone health. It's required for the development of the skeleton by providing strength and also structural support. It's used to calcify and harden the extracellular matrix during bone formation. And bone extracellular matrix is made up of what we call proteoglycans, water, organic matter, and also fibrous proteins, as it comprises the scaffold for bone cells and acts as a reservoir for growth factors. So this could not take place without sufficient amounts of calcium. Cod liver oil, it's something that's not something that you have to supplement with or include, but it's a very high source of vitamins A and also D, just to further assist with bone health. Copper is also an interesting one that people may not know a lot about, and its role in bone health, but it aids in collagen maturation for bone and connective tissue. And it also contributes to structure of the extracellular matrix and inhibits bone reabsorption. Fluoride is also a very uncommon one, but it helps strengthen bone extracellular matrix and also stimulates osteoblastic bone formation. Iron is a very, very important nutrient for bone health. It's a cofactor for enzymes that are involved in collagen synthesis or production. So therefore, it's really important for bone formation. Magnesium. Magnesium helps form bone extracellular matrix, and it's also important in calcium and bone metabolism. So it's just one of the many reasons that I love magnesium and bang on about magnesium a lot. Manganese is another nutrient that's very important. It activates enzymes involved in the production of bone extracellular matrix, and it's also a cofactor for the formation of bone cartilage and bone collagen, and also the bone mineralization. So manganese is a bit of an unsung hero, but it's also very important. Phosphorus, as I mentioned early on in this video, phosphorus is one of the most important nutrients as well when it comes to bone health. It's important for bone mineralization and also for the strengthening of the bone extracellular matrix. Silicon. Now, a lot of people like to try to supplement with silicon to have nice nails, nice hair, but it also plays a very important role in the development, growth, and also the integrity of bones. It's required for bone calcification. It improves calcium incorporation in bones and also increases bone mineral density. It also stimulates type 1 collagen synthesis and also the osteoblast differentiation. So as you can see, silicon has multiple roles for bone health. So it is something that it's important to include in the diet, but also and perhaps as a supplementation if it's required. Vitamin A cannot be overlooked. It's needed for the activity of osteoblasts during the remodeling of bone, and also any form of vitamin A deficiency will certainly stunt bone growth. So really important for young ones. Vitamin B12 is absolutely needed also for the synthesis or the production of bone proteins. And any form of B12 deficiency leads to abnormal protein production and bone extracellular matrix and decreased bone density. Vitamin C, not only a potent antioxidant, but it's needed for the production of collagen. And any form of vitamin C deficiency will lead to decreased collagen production, which then slows down bone growth and delays any repair of broken bones. So when we have any form of bone fracture or break, it's really important to include a lot of vitamin C to help with that recovery. Vitamin D. I've talked about this before. It's not just important for immunity, but it is one of the most important nutrients for bone health. And it has to be the active form, calcitrol, which is produced by the kidneys, as it helps build bone by increasing absorption of calcium from the gastrointestinal tract into the blood. And any form of deficiency causes faulty calcification and slows down bone growth. Vitamin D may reduce the risk of osteoporosis, but in terms of supplementation, but it can also be toxic if it's taken in too high doses. But we know that vitamin D deficiency is associated with impaired intestinal calcium absorption and must be corrected for ingested calcium in order for it to be effective. And there are many Australians that have vitamin D deficiency. It's not so much of a problem during the summer months when the sun is out, but throughout the rest of the year we can suffer deficiency, which is why I encourage all my clients to get vitamin D testing, just so we can see what their levels are and what type of supplementation, if any, is needed. Vitamin K is also one of the most important nutrients. This helps with the transportation and absorption of vitamin D and calcium into the bone matrix, and into the bone cells. And it's also needed for the production of bone proteins, and any form of deficiency leads to abnormal protein production in the bone extracellular matrix and also leads to decreased bone density. Finally, zinc. Zinc is also a very important nutrient for our immune system, but it's also required for the creation of collagen and collagenous bone structures. And it's also very important for the bone mineralization. So therefore, something to make sure that you're getting enough of through your diet as well. So they're the main nutrients that are required for optimal bone health to reduce our risk of osteopenia and also osteoporosis, and therefore keep up with the amount of activity that you're engaging in so it can support that activity. I hope you've learned something new today. There are many nutrients there, as you can see, that goes beyond just your typical calcium, vitamin K and vitamin D, which is what is written about a lot in literature and also in just mainstream articles. So if you have any questions on this, please don't hesitate to comment, but I'll happily provide more information if it's required.